I'm asserting that at least 33% of internal cancers and some number of external cancers as well are misdiagnosis and can be cured. But if not properly diagnosed, the conditions that they truly are horrendous, as bad as cancer. And this is a very deep rabbit hole, so let's begin now. So to start with, I've lost people in my life, great people, before their time to cancer and other illnesses, and that's the reason why I've dug this deep to find these answers in a comprehensive way, so that I could do something about these diseases. So Crohn's disease, autoimmune response disorders, anything with your bowel system that is really bad and is not getting better, and all of a sudden, this just started, and you're just really sick, and you don't know what's wrong with you, as well as all internal cancers. My first recommendation is to do the process that I will outline herein. So I just want to say that to begin with, that I'm not going to explain all this and then not give you an answer. I do have a comprehensive answer, and some of it could be better, some of it is pretty good, but it definitely works. So to cure cancer one way or another is wonderful. So the first connection is between internal parasites and cancer. Now, this is a very, very easy connection to make once you start digging into parasites. Now, parasites are horrendously scary. I agree. They scared the crap out of me when I learned about them. When I seen them in formaldehyde, a tapeworm, the first time, it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And but I also wanted to know what to do. How would you know if you had one, number one, and what you would do about it if you did have one. And also, how do you get them? Okay, so the reason why tapeworm is a great starting point is because tapeworm is a very, very strange organism to begin with. It's a hermaphrodite, it's a colonial animal, it's a segmented worm, but it's the only segmented worm of its type in existence, and it exchanges its DNA with the host, so it mimics its host's DNA in its own makeup. So this, if you know anything about cancer, that is exactly what cancer is. It's you, but it's malignant, So that's the first thing. The flatworms, the roundworms, and the segmented worms, and then you've got a whole host of exterior parasites, which get much more complicated. They're like mites and lice, horrendous things. But it's the worms that we're going to be talking about. And these are not like parasites, they're more like predators that will kill you. The tapeworm is the one that doesn't really do too much and is like evolved to not do too much, but all the other ones are predators and kill you basically. They're horrible little animals that attack you and need to be dealt with immediately. And there's but the way to deal with them is unconventional thinking. Like if you had Crohn's disease diagnosed, but you actually had pinworms, let's just say, as an introduction, you would never think of the solution that I'm going to present normally. So we'll get there. So you got the flatworms, which are like flukes to begin with, which is somewhat like a leech that can end up all sorts of places in your body. Then you got the roundworms, pinworms, threadworms. Ascaris is something that's associated with bear poop and can wind up just random places in your body, like coming out your eyeball. Is a story that is told, but which I'll talk about. And then you got the segmented worms, which is like tapeworm and all its different varieties. So the first problem is that they almost like there's only a couple systems in your body. There's the the urine system, which is connected to your reproduction, and then there's the blood system, which is connected to your spleen, heart, lungs, and then there is the digestive tract, and that's all the rest of the organs, your liver, your pancreas. There's a lot of things connected to your digestive tract. So if you had something that like resembles an oyster or a leech inside of you, it could get pretty important places. And tapeworm alone can do pretty bad damage, even though it's pretty mild compared to the other ones, because it doesn't really try to kill you. It tries to just hang out in the dark and not get noticed. Because even if you did notice it, it's pretty difficult to deal with, because tapeworm in particular is not really responsive to the medications. So there's no good way of killing some of these things like tapeworm, because it lives in stomach acid. It's a hermaphrodite. It's constantly producing offspring, like in a colonial sense, which are then breaking off and then basically become your poop. Like they turn into poop long before they come out of your body. So people don't understand that. They think it's just gonna pop out. No. It's like a good couple weeks away from just popping out, and you're basically like, if you have a tapeworm, a large majority of your diet is tapeworm, which is pretty bad. Very sad thing. So it's non-responsive to the medications. It's also used, so it'd be some pretty intense medication if it exchanges DNA to become you, so it's not picked up by your immune response. So those methods might work for some of the other diseases, but pinworms, for example, very aggressive. They actually move around your body a lot as adults and as larvae. So they are responsive to the medications. However, they have a whole life cycle you have to deal with. All these things have life cycles. I'm talking 3 weeks. When it's a larvae, it's in this one location in your body, and then it moves, and then it does different things, and it's a very difficult disease to target. Basically, you have to stick with anything you're doing for about 3 weeks to get long-term results. So those are the big ones that you should be aware of. The flukes are, I have not had any, like, I think lambs get them a lot somehow, or sheep. I haven't had any personal experience with or like seen that in person, but I've definitely seen a lot of the nematodes, which are the roundworms, like the pinworms, the threadworms, hookworms. Who's the famous man? John D. Rockefeller had hookworms. He suffered from hookworms at one point in his life. So once you see that there's this large scope of disease that isn't being noticed by our medical system, and it definitely makes your body's response to it, if it spreads outside of your digestive system, which some of them definitely will, is to put a cyst around it. So sometimes it'll look on a CAT scan just like a tumor, or it might just look like poop, just backed up in your system, like really backed up stool in your system. So that's the thing of it. Now, it's just a good idea to rid yourself of this, no matter who you are. But if you're diagnosed with cancer, that's the first thing I would do. If you have Crohn's disease, this is the first thing I would do. If you have any problems with your bowel system, okay, now I'm going to begin talking about how you get it. So interaction with poop is a big one. Sushi, undercooked meat, definitely can do it. The dirt itself can have a lot of this stuff. Depending on where you are, like if you're in an area that's had bears for a long time, that dirt is known by those people, like in Alaska, to be dangerous and might have Ascaris eggs in it, and you should be cautious. When our world got a lot cleaner as far as cancer-causing agents, California started the process, and all the other states just kind of followed along, even though they might not have it in legislation. And this really cleaned up our world, because in the past, like even in the 1990s, your workplace, your home, anywhere could have very toxic fumes. So right when we cleaned this up, cancer has persisted. These are like the causes. Stuff like that would be the normal stated cause of cancer, smoking as well, of course, but these really harmful carcinogen compounds. So we cleaned up a lot of that as a society, but we also introduced sushi. So sushi has not been eaten for hundreds of years. It was a recent invention in its form as it is, of like not being cooked or anything done with the meat or whatever. And it's basically dangerous to not cook, especially fish. Horrible idea. So I honestly think sushi should be illegal because people don't know all this stuff that I'm explaining. So yeah, that's so if you get the really bad ones, it's probably not from sushi. You probably get the tapeworm from sushi, but some of the really bad worms, like pinworms, like a dog poop, like I said, ascaris with bear poop. Any animal will be carrying, any wild animal will be carrying worms. And once you realize that, humans, definitely carry worms, and they can definitely pass them on just from parent to child. Because, for example, with pinworms, at nighttime they go out your butt and they lay their eggs on the outside. So if you have pinworms, it's very uncomfortable because like your butt is constantly itching because these worms are wiggling out and laying eggs everywhere. The eggs are very sticky for all these parasites, and they lay thousands of eggs. So if you're infected, it's getting everywhere. Okay, like someone who's infected, it's just gonna get everywhere. So it really does. So there's no real good way of preventing any of that. Like if you wash your hands rigorously, use sanitary stuff maybe, but you're constantly going to be pouring out more. So it's a losing battle, and it's very, very bad. So yeah, those are the risk factors. Yeah. Also, these, like for example, pinworms again, they'll travel as a larvae into your bloodstream, get deposited in your lungs, climb up your lungs to your mouth, and be in your mouth. So you can kiss someone and then transmit it that way, which is an absolutely remarkable thing that thing is doing inside your body. That just to transmit through a kiss, and no one's taking this into account. Is there's something just swimming in your blood? Very bad, very, very bad. So that should be on the radar, I would say, of people's awareness to stay healthy. Something with such something that's so small and loving as a kiss can have horrible consequences, and all these diseases have horrible suffering. They're on par with cancer and Crohn's disease, because sometimes that's what they are diagnosed as, is cancer and Crohn's disease. So absolutely horrible. So now I'm going to tell you my recommendation of how to cure these. So basically, my plan is to get rid of it in your digestive tract. So this is basically a like a detoxification time, or like a, what's it called, like a purge, maybe it could be called. But basically what you're taking is Miralax, polyethylene glycol is what the chemical is, and then Senecot. So you basically need to take both those things, and then you have to take them pretty heavy and not eat for 3 weeks. So you have to work your way into it, and like mix the Miralax with like a soda or something, so you have energy still, and then work your way into it, and then basically you'll go through the whole cycle of ridding the poop out of your body, and then it'll go to stomach acid for a long time before the worms actually are dissipated. And like I said, if you don't do it for 3 weeks, some of those other types, which are responsive, like I said, to medication, but these medications are not easy to get because doctors are not aware of these diseases and not very good at diagnosing any of them. So it's like you have this one or that one, they're not gonna know. They're not gonna know, like, unless you get a very knowledgeable doctor. So yeah, I'm gonna pause. All right, what was I doing? So yeah, it's difficult. So the treatments, there's various treatments. Some of them cut down the digestion of sugar in the animals' processes. Is its stated way of killing the organism, which doesn't sound very effective to me, especially if I'm eating sugar just to maintain myself through the process. But there's other treatments as well. There's various types. I'm not too, albendazole I remember is the most common one, but I'm not too confident in any of them. So the best way is just to rid yourself entirely of the problem in your digestive tract, and then everything else will sort itself out. Your body will put cysts around anything that is spread permanently to another location, and then you can also, if you get some massages, some deep massages, combine it with the cyst, that should take care of anything else that could happen. So you just got to get rid of, especially like, you know, the core of the problem, which is your digestive tract. So there it is. That is the solution to cancer. That is how to cure cancer at least 33% of the time, in my estimation, for internal cancers. Now, external cancers can also have a parasitic thing happening, where a female tick could have burrowed, especially if it's like a nymph stage, or as in full grown, basically. And then the female ticks engorge themselves and are soft. And then basically, so you won't even notice it, and you kill it, and then all the little babies spread out. So if you have like a wound that just isn't healing, looking a certain way, now that's not very aggressive, and it isn't going to kill you by any stretch of the imagination, not like the other diseases I was talking about, but it could look like cancer. So just stating that. So in that situation, you just have to clean the wound very thoroughly, like down to, you know, your core tissue, like as much as possible. So this all has to be done better by me, because I need to do all this justice, so people actually learn all this. You know, I'm just giving this away, I guess. You know, this is some of the most powerful, world-changing knowledge that there is. So you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so that's what I say. I just really don't want people to have Crohn's disease. Number one, I'm thinking that their body's wrong and it's an autoimmune response, when that's the exact opposite of what's happening. Your body might be trying to fight the worms that are killing you, and you're taking autoimmune suppressing drugs. It's one of the most horrible things that happen due to our current medical system. So yeah. I really hope people can get this information. And like I said, because these people will be having diarrhea if they're having pinworms, and then they're getting this misdiagnosed Crohn's disease, they'll be having intense diarrhea. So they're not thinking, I need to flush myself out even more for like weeks even, but that's what you have to do. It takes an incredible effort actually to get these things out, and permanently. So that's what it is. As well as the Miralax, the polyethylene glycol, I think interacts with them like on a cellular basis, like to their structure, and they absorb it. Maybe that has an effect of actually killing them before they actually get flushed out. But yeah, that is the thing that I'm presenting, the cure for cancer. One of the biggest rabbit holes known to man. All right. Till next time, when I do this better with a whiteboard, pictures, comprehensive, and somehow get all of you to watch the whole thing, because this is great information. All right. Bye.